السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. الحمد لله الذي جعل الشمس والقمر حسبانا والنجم والشجر يسجدان، فضل زمانا على زمان كما فضل إنسانا على إنسان ومكانا على مكان، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا وأعلانا وأولانا ومولانا محمد صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وبارك وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. Welcome to Quranic Arabic Academy, Arabic Grammar Made Easy, lesson number 13b. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. ربي يسر ولا تعسر وتمم بالخير وبك نستعين. رضيت بالله ربا وبالإسلام دينا وبمحمد رسولا. In today's lesson, we are going to learn, understand the Anwa'ul Fa'ili, the types of fa'il in Jumlatun Fi'liyah. So let me just correct this. And in today's lesson, we're going to be learning, understanding Anwa'ul Fa'il, the types of fa'il in Jumlatun Fi'liyah, the types of subject or the types of doer in Jumla Fi'liyah. Let's recap very quickly what we've been doing. In Jumla Ismiya, we've learned two parts, Mubtada and Khabar. In terms of Ta'yin, Mubtada is Ma'rifa and Khabar is Nakira. In terms of Al-I'rab, both Mubtada and Khabar are Marfu'. In terms of Al-Naw and Al-Adad, the Khabar has to agree the Mubtada. Then we've learned adding additional articles to get additional meaning in Al-Jumlatul Ismiyatu. Then we added Fi'lun Naqis. What Fi'lun Naqis does is the Mubtada becomes the Ismu Kana wa Ismu Kana wa Akhawatuha, and the Khabar becomes Khabaru Kana wa Akhawatuha. The Ismu Kana remains the same in terms of I'rab. Ismu Kana is Marfu' and Khabaru Kana changes into Mansub. Khabaru Kana Mansub. And also the all other Kana wa Akhawatuha, for example, Laysa. So Khabaru Ismu Laysa will be Marfu' and Khabaru Laysa will be Mansub. Then we added how to make Jumla Ismiya emphatic. We added particles of emphatic, which is inna wa akhawatuha, or harfun mushabbahun bil fi'l, or harfun nasikhun. So once inna is added, the mubtada becomes ismu inna and the khabar becomes khabaru inna. In terms of i'rab, the ismu inna goes to mansub case and khabaru inna goes to marfu case. And then we add the lamul ibtida. Lamul ibtida comes at the beginning of Jumla Ismiya. And when inna also comes, so Lamul Ibtida moves to Al-Khabar and it is given a new name, Lamul Muzahlaqatu, and a few other things we added. Now we are doing the second type of Jumla, Al-Jumlatul Fi'liyatu. Jumla Fi'liya has two types mainly, and it can have more parts or more slots. So Jumlatul Fi'liyat always must have this first slot of part, which is Fi'lun. Then we have the other parts. We started with Fa'ilun. Fa'ilun. So what is the i'rab of Fa'il? Is Marfu'un. The i'rab of Fa'il is always Marfu'. So in Jumlatul Fi'liya, other than Fa'il, the rest of the things we're going to add, everything will be in Mansub case. So in the last lesson, we have learned Maf'ulun bihi. Maf'ulun bihi is the direct object of the fi'l, and the i'rab is Mansubun. Another thing we've learned, Maf'ulun bihi thanin, the second maf'ul of the Jumla Fi'liya. And the i'rab of maf'ulun bi thanin is also mansubun. So far, alhamdulillah, this is what we have done so far. So let's move on. As we add any of the slots, I will be entering those into this chart. So far, we have done fa'il, then maf'ulun bihi, then maf'ulun bihi thanin. So this is the order of Jumlatul Fi'liya. It goes Fi'lun, Fa'ilun, Maf'ulun bihi. Up to here is normal. Some fi'l requires Maf'ulun bihi thanin. We add that as well. Otherwise, Fi'lun, Fa'ilun, Maf'ulun bihi. Fi'lun, Fa'ilun, Maf'ulun bihi. Let's go through the 5 properties of a fi'l. Number 1, الزمن tense. Number 2, الإعراب state. Number 3, النوع gender. And number 4, معلوم or مجهول. And number 5, مثبت and منفي. The معلوم and مجهول. We did talk about معلوم means the doer is present in the sentence. The doer is mentioned. It is apparent. We can see the doer. Majhul is the doer is not present in the sentence, or is not mentioned, or it is unknown. It is sometimes the file is unknown, but it is not mentioned in the sentence. So this is what majhul means. In English, it is said ma'alumun, active voice, and majhulun, passive voice. Muthbatun is the affirmation, and manfiyun is the negation. So far, all the examples we have done or doing, we are all doing muthbatun, okay? The affirmation sentence means it gave us the meaning of affirmation, right? So these are the 5 types or 5 properties of fi'l. So let's move on quickly one by one. We have 3 az-zaman, the 3 types of tense. Number 1, fi'l al-madi, past tense, al-fi'l al-mudari'u, present and future tense, and fi'l al-amri, only for future tense, which is command. Now, some fi'l is mu'rabun, or some fi'ls are mabniyun. So mu'rab and mabni, it is the type of word in terms of going into slots. Slot, I mean in marfu slot, or mansub slot or majroor slot or majzoom slot. Okay? So mu'arab will go into the one of the slots, but the mabni fails don't go into one of the slots. It doesn't have a slots. So what are the mabni fails and what are the mu'rab fails? Mabni fail is only two: al-fi'l al-madi and al-fi'l al-mudari. Sorry, al-fi'l al-madi and fi'l al-amri. And mu'rab is only one: al-fi'l al-mudari'u. Remember, fi'l al-mudari will go into slot of the marfu slot. Fi'l mudari will go into mansub slot. And fi'l mudari will go into number 3, majzoom slot. Al-fi'l al-madi and fi'l al-amri, never. They don't go into one of the slots because they are mabni. Al-fi'l al-madi mabniyun. The three types of fi'l madi can be mabni on. Number 1, mabniyun ala al-fathi. Number 2, mabniyun ala al-dhammi. Number 3, mabniyun ala al-sukun. At the moment, we are doing the number 1, mabniyun ala al-fathi. In the coming lessons, we'll be doing mabniyun ala al-dhammi and mabniyun ala al-sukun. Al-fi'l al-mudari', which is mu'rab. Number 1, marfu'un. Number 2, mansubun. And number 3, majzumun. Remember, al-fi'l al-mudari' has 3 types of slots. Number 1 slot, it is marfu'. Number 2 slot, mansub. Number 3 slot, majzum. Fi'l al-amri, again, is mabniyun. It will not it is mabniun ala sukun. Obvious, it will not have one of the slots, but it is mabniyun ala sukun. The other 3 we will learn when we learn fi'l al-amri. Let's go through the rules of al-jumlatul fi'liya, what we have learned so far. We've learned that some fi'l require an object to complete the sentence. It means some jumlatun fi'liyatun must have 3 parts: the verb, the subject, and the object. The subject is called the fa'il, and the i'rab of fa'il is marfu'. The object is called the maf'ulun bihi, direct object. The maf'ulun bihi is a direct object. Direct object is the thing or person that is affected by the action of the verb. The i'rab of maf'ulun bihi is mansubun. Some fi'l require 2 direct objects to complete the sentence. The second object is called maf'ulun bihi thanin. The i'rab of maf'ulun bihi thanin is also mansubun. So far, these are the rules we have learned for al-jumlatul fi'liyatu. Let's say this is only 2 rules. We're just going to learn the terms or the slots, the names of other things we're going to be adding. Otherwise, in terms of i'rab, the same. These are the only 2 you have to remember: marfu'un and mansubun. Marfu'un and mansubun. There's only one type of ism, is marfu', and that is fa'il. The doer is always marfu', and the rest of the thing in the jumla fi'liya is mansub. Only these are the 2 things we have to remember as terms of i'rab. As we go more into deep in the lessons, we'll be adding more things into jumla fi'liya. Today's lesson mainly is anwa'ul fa'ili, the types of al-fa'il. There are 2 types of al-fa'il. How many? 2. Number 1, ismun zahirun, noun. Number 2, damirun, pronoun. So far, all the examples we had, the fa'il were ismun zahirun, noun. So when we have a noun as the fa'il, it is called ismun zahirun. So in full Arab, we don't need to mention ismun zahirun. But the way we've been doing full Arab so far, that's how we do it. So just to know, those nouns as the fa'il, it is ismun zahirun. The fa'il also can be a damir. Fa'il also can be a damir. So far we have learned the الضمير المنفصل. الضمير المنفصل. So they are detached damir. They always comes as marfu slot, or they come in marfu slot, and they only can be mubtada. So damirun munfasilun can only be in mubtada slot. And another type of damir, also it is marfu, that is called damirun muttasilun, attached. Marfu'un, so damirun muttasilun marfu'un. These damirs are attached only with fi'l madi. They're attached only with fi'l madi. Let's move on. If the file is a damir, it can be one of the two. It can be one of the two. Number 1, damirun mustatirun, hidden damir. Number 2, damirun barizun, apparent damir, visible damir. So damir mustatir, if it's a fa'il, is hidden, is not apparent, is not visible in the sentence. It is hidden. But damir bariz is apparent, is visible, you can see it. We will learn damirun mustatirun first. In the coming lesson, we'll be learning the second one, damirun barizun. So let's go through again. If you do not understand, again, don't worry. We'll be covering this again and again and go through this video again and again to understand. There are two types of fa'il in this sentence. Number 1, ismun zahirun. And we've covered that. And alhamdulillah, we understood that it is a noun that comes in the sentence as a doer, as a fa'il. Number 2, fa'il also can be a damir, the pronoun. So if the fa'il comes as a damir, it is a different set of damirs we need to learn. We haven't learned it yet. It is a different types of damir that only comes with al-fi'lul madi. Okay? So if the fa'il is a damir, special damirs only comes with al-fi'lul madi, and they are muttasil, they're attached with fi'l madi. They never be used munfasil. Okay? These damirs will never be used independently. They always will be attached with fi'l madi. So there are two types of damir used in fi'l madi. Number 1 is damirun mustatirun, hidden, and number 2 is damirun barizun, apparent damirs. Understood so far? Two types of damir. two types of fa'il and also two types of damir. If you don't understand the two types of damir, again, I will say it doesn't matter, we'll do that. But you have to understand the two types of fa'il at this moment. We can understand further on. Two types of fa'il. Ismun zahir, the noun as fa'il. Number two, damir, the pronoun as the fa'il. Because pronoun as the fa'il will be using a lot. Okay? Damir as the fa'il are used in the Quran a lot. So you need to understand this properly. Okay. Now in the past lesson it says it is mentioned the mabni under Arab. In the past lessons, yes, I did that, but in these lessons I've taken out. I've taken out from the Arab. As I said, mabni does not mean Arab. Mabni and mu'rab is the two types of noun. There are two types of noun. Mu'rab means it changes. It can have Arab. Mabni means it can have Arab. It cannot have Arab as well. Mabni. So the mabni asma, mabni isms, yes, they have the Arab. They will have one of the slots. But we are doing fail. We are doing fail madi. Fail madi is not ism. If ism is mabni, yes, they will have their own Arab. But al-fi'l al-madi, although it is mabni, doesn't have Arab. Right? Let's move on. You go back, it's not mentioned anymore. It's not there. What does I know? Because I removed it. Right, let's move on. So maybe if in this, I just forgot. Maybe in this lesson, if it's mentioned, I will remove in the next lesson. So Anwa'ul Fa'il is two. Number one is Munzahirun. Number two, Damir. Damir is two types. Damirun Mustatirun and Damirun Barizun. Let's talk about Damirun Mustatirun. Okay, hidden pronoun. If the fa'il is not ism zahir, if the fa'il is not a noun, then the fa'il will be damir. Simple as that. If there is no noun mentioned in the sentence as the fa'il, you have to go back to damir to make the fa'il. The fail on the scale of fa'ala, the fail on the scale of fa'ala, all the verbs we've learned, the khalaqa, fataha, jalasa, khalaqa, nasara, all these are on the scale of fa'ala. The fail on the scale of fa'ala has a damirun mustatirun, and it is always huwa. Okay, always huwa. If the fa'il is not ism zahir, then the fa'il will be a damir. The fail on the scale of fa'alat has a damirun mustatirun, and it is always here. Okay. For the fail on the scale of fa'ala or fa'alat, you can bring your own fa'il. You can bring your own ism dhahir. If you cannot bring your own fa'il, then use the built-in fa'il, which is huwa or hiya. For fa'ala and fa'alat, dhamirun mustatirun. Okay, there's only these two form of fil madi. Only these two sigha is called sigha, the form of fil madi. The one sigha is fa'ala, another sigha is fa'alat. So it is only for these two sigas only you are allowed to bring your own fa'il. If you cannot bring your own fa'il, then use the built-in fa'il, which is huwa for fa'ala and hiya for fa'alat. And it is called dhamirun mustatirun. In full Arab, for the dhamirun mustatirun, you say jawazan. You say jawazan. It means it is also allowed to bring ismun dhahirun as the fa'il. It is also allowed. This is why it is called jawaz, allowed, jawazan. So when it is ism dhahir, we don't need to say jawazan, because ism dhahir is the original fa'il. When it comes to damir as the fa'il, we just remind ourselves it was the original fa'il was ism dhahir, because ism dhahir is not mentioned, is the damir. And this damir was brought as allowed, as permissible, jawazan. So in full Arab, we say damirun mustatirun jawazan. It means it is also allowed to bring ism dhahir as the fa'il. Or we can say another way, it was allowed to bring damir mustatir as the fa'il. It is allowed to bring damir as the fa'il. So let's change. I think that is better. So it means it is allowed, means it is allowed to bring the damir, not ism dhahir. Ism dhahir is the original. It means it is allowed to bring damir as the fa'il. Okay, understood? So if ism dhahir is not present in the sentence, for fa'ala, we say huwa, the damir is hidden, mustatir, fa'il. And if the fail is on the scale of fa'alat, we say here is the damir hidden. So if you have the fa'il in the sentence, use that as the fa'il. But if you don't have a fa'il in the sentence, use the built-in, which is huwa for fa'ala and hiya for fa'ala. And in full Arab, we say jawazan or damirun mustatirun, because it means is also, because you have no choice. You cannot make anything, any ism as the fa'il. You have to make the damir as the fa'il, jawazan. So these are the verbs we had so far. You can memorize and learn all these fails. So if you want to memorize these fails, pause the video and either note it down or we'll have in our notes. So memorize them. This is another group. If you do recognize or remembered over here that we started with this one first, Nasara. Remember this verb. This verb will help us later on. Nasara. Then Fataha. And then Daraba. Okay? So all the number one, the first fail, just remember them. So Nasara, Fataha, and the next one is Daraba. So in the coming lessons, I will be putting the first verb just for us to remember. It will help us later on, inshallah. Obviously, you also learn the rest of the verbs. These are all Quranic verbs. Remember, you memorize this verb, daraba. When you repeat these letters, because these are Quranic words or Quranic verbs, you're earning 10 rewards for each letter you pronounce. Okay? We have to make the intention, or because these are Quranic words, to make that intention, then you'll be earning 10 rewards for each letter you pronounce or repeat, as the hadith says. Okay, so let's move on. Okay, let's do some examples. First of all, remember the file is always marfu and maf'ulun bihi is always mansub. Okay, so you can see we have only 2 boxes, so that means we're not going to have fa'il as ism zahir. There'll be no fa'il as a noun as a file. There'll be no noun as the file in this sentence. So we'll have only fa'il and maf'ulun bihi. Fa'il and maf'ulun bihi. So we need to find the hidden file, because we've learned right at the beginning of al-jumlatul fi'liyatu that every fa'il must have a file, and the fa'il always comes after the fa'il. Okay. So what we have? Khalaqa. We have khalaqa. So all the verbs we learn as default, because we don't mention the file straight away. When we memorize these verbs, as I showed in the chart, every single of the verb has that built-in file with it. Okay? So every file carries that file with it. Once we mention ism as the file, and that file which was built in disappears. So when we say daraba, the built-in file is there. It has to have, because every file needs a file. Khalaqa, it has the built-in huwa. Nasara, it has the built-in file huwa. Rafa'a, ba'atha, all these files have the built-in file huwa. So khalaqa al-jannata. So how would we know the ism zahir or the fa'il is missing? How would we know? Anyone? How would we know the fa'il is missing or is not mentioned in this sentence. It is there, which is hidden. Anyone? How would we know? Yes, I know that there is ism dhahir. Look, al-jannah. Al-jannah is ism dhahir. Al-jannah is the noun, right? So how would we know? That's right. The next word, look at the next word, the ism. It is having fatha on it. And what in jumlatul fi'liyah, what is the name of the slot that has fatha on it? It is maf'ulun bihi. That's right. And also someone said, because we don't have any ism in marfu case. You're also correct. So look for ism in marfu case. If you find it, that is the fa'il. And if you cannot find it and there is no ism in marfu case, that means the fa'il is hidden. So خلق الجنة. So over here the fa'il huwa is hidden. So let's do the tarkib. خلق, that's what we say, فعل plus فاعل. In the bracket we can write huwa. So خلق فعل وفاعل. فعل وفاعل. So let's take the plus out, or you can say wa. خلق فعل وفاعل. In the bracket write huwa. And al-jannata is straight away maf'ulun bihi. Because by looking at it, we don't see any ism as the fa'il in the sentence. So al-jannata is telling us it is the maf'ulun bihi because it has وعلامة نصبه الفتحة الظاهرة. So the translation will be, I can translate. Remember, you have to translate the hidden fa'il as well. Yes. Yes. He created the Jannah. He created the paradise. Now let's do the full Arab. خلق فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل, as we have to say, والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا. تقديره means assumed, or it is hidden. تقديره assumed or believed to be هو. So والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو. So now do you understand what jawazan means? Sometime we'll see wujuban, means you have no choice. That is wujub. It is, you cannot change it. It is compulsory, mandatory to have that damir as the file. Over here, you cannot bring your own file. There's only these two sighas, yeah? Fa'ala and fa'alat. There's only these two sighas. You have a choice. You can bring your own file. And the rest of the forms of al-fi'l madi we'll be learning. And the rest of the sighas of fi'l madi, you have no choice. You cannot bring your own fa'il, because I just mentioned منذ قليل, a while ago, that every other fi'l of other forms of fi'l madi will have the damir baris as the file. Okay, so خلق فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو. And the al-jannah, we know to it, we've done in the past. Al-jannata maf'ulun bihi mansubun wa alamatu nasbihi al-fathatu al-zahiratu ala akhirih. Understand how to do the i'rab of the hidden file? The damir mustatir. والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو. Right? So yes, let's move on. Let's use the khalaqa again. Khalaqa. Let's see what we have the next word. As-samawati. Khalaqa as-samawati. How do you know? Or is there fa'il in this sentence? I mean, in visible. Is there fa'il? There is a file in the sentence, because khalaqa, every file needs a file. But is the file visible in the sentence? Is the file visible in the sentence? Can you see the file? No. How do you know? Why not? How do you know there is no visible file in the sentence? Quickly, we are running out of time. I think the lesson is getting longer. Type in quickly. All right. Because the next ism is not in marfu case. Next ism is not in marfu case. If any ism is in marfu case, then we say it is the file. That because samawat, it is jam'ul muannathis salim. It is having a kasra. And we've learned jama muannas salim in mansub case, it has a kasra. Okay, tarkib again. Khalaqa, fail or fa'il, which is the huwa, and as-samawati maf'ulun bihi. Translate. No, as-samawat is not jama mukassar. Jama salim, muannas. Okay, we've learned in the past, I know the word sama'un. Sama'un is the singular. When it comes to plural, I mean, it seems like it's broken. Because sama'un, waw is added, alif is added, seems like it's broken. But we've did that there are some words, even non-human, that they come in the form of jama muannas salim. Yeah. I think I have a list of words. I have a list of non-human. They come as a jama muannas salim. Maybe I will share in one of our lessons in the future. I will send in our group. Yes, he created the skies. He created the skies. إعراب خلق فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو السماوات مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه الكسرة. This sign of this type of ism, which is Jama Muannas Salim, the alama or the sign of these type of isms is al-kasra. Then we say in place of fatha, in exchange of fatha, because normally maf'ulun bihi is a sign shows with fatha. And this type of ism is not showing with fatha, it's showing with kasra. So we say niyabatan anil fathati. Why? لأنه جمع مؤنث سالم. Could be مؤنثين. Okay. جمع مؤنث سالم. So السماوات مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه الكسرة نيابة عن الفتحة لأنه جمع مؤنث سالم. Okay, next sentence غفر الذنوب. غفر الذنوب. Over here we don't have any ism ظاهر as the fa'il, so the fa'il has to be ضمير مستتر. التركيب is easy. غفر فعل فاعل الذنوب مفعول به. Translation: he forgave the sins. He, we are translating the hidden damir, which is huwa. He forgave the sins. Very quickly, the Arab again is the same. غفر فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو. And الذنوب مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. Next example كتبت. Now we go to مؤنث now. كتبت. As soon as we see this fail, we know it is مؤنث. Remember the ta marbuta, the round ta marbuta is used to make ism مؤنث. And this ta maftuha, the open ta, is used with the sakin, is used to make fail muannas, especially fail madi. Okay, it is used to make fail madi muannas. So this is the difference between the ta marbuta, the round ta, and the open ta. كتبت كتابين. How do we know there is no ism ظاهر in the sentence as the fa'il? Because كتابين is not in marfu case. What case is كتابين in? Yes, it is in mansub case, which is مثنى. So تركيب كتبت فعل فاعل. Oops, sorry, to change that. It is here. Okay. So كتبت فعل وفاعل. File is in the bracket here. And كتابين مفعول به. Translation will be she wrote 2 books. Instead of mentioning a name, instead of mentioning an ism, we use the pronoun. She كتبت here. She wrote 2 books. Again, تركيب إعراب is very easy. كتبت فعل ناقص I missed one thing here just by looking at it. مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هي, and we have to write the ta sakin, isn't it? والتاء تاء التأنيث الساكنة حرف لا محل له من الإعراب. I just add that as well. And then كتابين مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه الياء لأنه مثنى. Okay, so understood this? The ضمير the مستتر, which is تقديره هي, the مؤنث ضمير. Yes. Okay, next. نصر المسلمين. Again, same over here, the اسم الظاهر is not mentioned as the fa'il. The تركيب فعل or fa'il, and the fa'il is هو. Then المسلمين مفعول به. Translation: he helped the Muslims. The Arab again is the same. المسلمين, look at this, مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصبه الياء لأنه جمع مذكر سالم. Right. Let's see one more. Sorry, this is the same. This slide. All right, now we have here 3 boxes. 1, 2, 3. 3 boxes. Possible we may have a file here as the اسم ظاهر. And look at the chart. فاعل مرفوع and مفعول به منصوب مفعول به ثانٍ منصوب. Just a reminder, we all know the Arab of مفعول به ثانٍ. Okay, so let's see if we have جعل, and we've learned جعل is to make. جعل. If the next ism it has dhamma or it is in marfu case, we don't just say dhamma straight away, because in marfu case it has other signs like alifu, al-alifu. Alif is the sign of muthanna, and some it is al-ya'u. Ya is the sign of muthanna in marfu. Sorry, not ya, alif. So we just need to see if the next ism is in marfu case. If it's in marfu case, straight away we can say that is the fa'il. And if it's not in marfu case, it's not the fa'il. So let's see. Muhammadan. Ja'ala Muhammadan. That means this ism is not the fa'il. It is the maf'ulun bihi. Nabiyan maf'ulun bihi thanin. In this sentence, the fa'il is not ism dhahir, is mustatir. فجعل محمدا نبيا. تركيب جعل فعل وفاعل which is هو. فعل or فاعل which is هو. فعل or فاعل is هو. So جعل فعل وفاعل and محمدا مفعول به نبيا مفعول به ثاني. Translation: he made Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam a prophet. So here we say جعل فعل ماض مبني على الفتح الظاهر لا محل له من الإعراب والفاعل ضمير مستتر جوازا تقديره هو. And محمدا مفعول به منصوب وعلامة نصب الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره نبيا مفعول به ثان منصوب. Okay. So نبيا over here is مفعول به ثان. What is the علامة? What is the sign of this ism being in منصوب case? وعلامة نصبه الفتحة الظاهرة على آخره. So Alhamdulillah, this is the end of this lesson. So we've learned the two types of fa'il. Number one, fa'il can be ism zahir. That means the ism as the fa'il, and it is mentioned, it is visible. We can see the fa'il, and fa'il it is in marfu case. Sometimes the fa'il can be a damir. If the fa'il is a damir, it can be mustatir, it can be bariz. There's only two damirs. They are mustatir, hidden. One for the sigha fa'ala, which is huwa, and one for the sigha fa'alat, which is here. So in analyzing in Arab, we say damirun mustatirun jawazan, and taqdiruhu, if it's huwa, we say for fa'ala huwa, and if it's for fa'alat, we say taqdiruhu here. That's it. So these are the only two types of damir. It is said in the Arab jawazan, and the rest of the damir we're going to be adding in al-fi'l al-madi. Those will be ujuban. Ujuban. Then we have to say we have to mention, which is, no, sorry, the rest of the damir will be baris. It's not mustatir, will be baris. So there is no need to say jawazan or ujuban. Okay. So the next the types of damirs we're going to be adding in al-fi'l al-madi, they will be baris. You can see them, but there is no need to say, well, we don't say jawazan or ujuban. We only say for these two types of damir, who and here, the jawazan. It is in al-fi'l al-mudari, we'll be using ujuban. Okay? In fi'l al-mudari, we will be using ujuban. Inshallah, I hope you understood, but if not, again, please go through this video again. I know the video is a bit long, but we have to learn, isn't it? Alhamdulillah. So may Allah give us tawfiq. We'll see in the next lesson. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdika. Nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta. Nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.